So, my book, as you've heard, is about the life of the night. And my journey into it began with a single question. Why am I so afraid of the dark? At my age, in the brightly lit city, as an independent enough person who's not scared of all that much, what do I think might lurk in the dark and the night? That was a few years ago. At the time, Sarah Everard's murder had happened. I'd just got my new night job as The Guardian's chief theatre critic. My lifetime's insomnia had come surging back. My parents were getting older, iller, possibly entering into their own metaphoric night. So after that original questions, others began to pop up. Am I scared because I've been told to beware the night and its dangers as a woman? Is it because I've been raised by superstitious South Asian parents who fed us on a nighttime stories about ghosts and ghouls? Could my history of insomnia be gendered? Is that possible? And where does my love of night walking as a teenager, my love of clubbing as a 20-something, fit in with this fear? Finally, can this fear be overcome? Do I even want to overcome it? Those questions took me into an expedition of the night and an expedition into fear, for me, for the women and the men I spoke to, as well as the films I watched, the art and literature I came across, all of which revealed who we are in darkness. So it is, as Rosie said, a cultural, social, sexual exploration of who we are in the night, that mysterious other half of ourselves. And as I ploughed further and further into it, I identified all the reasons to be scared of it, all its terrors, all its tyrannies. Charles Dickens was known for his night walks around London. It formed the social conscience in his writing. He wrote extensively about the visions he saw during these walks, both in his journalism and in the ghost stories that some of them inspired, some of the walks inspired. And he wrote of the strays and waifs he met and spoke of the ways in which society had failed these figures of the night. So who might I encounter on the streets of the same city today, I wondered? And what does the night reveal to us about the way we live, how civilized or otherwise a society we've created since? Well, it certainly lays bare what lies hidden or only half seen in the day. In my night walks, I saw the 0 hours economy at work and at close quartered. I visited care homes. I did a night shift in them, spoke to carers, nurses, doctors of their experiences of working night shifts. I saw and spoke to the homeless too, especially homeless women who have greater risk of predation on the streets, lower survival rates than their male counterparts. I remembered my own love of childhood walking in the dark, especially in the time of the pandemic when there was so little else to do. And I also remembered my acquired fear of it as a woman in the night. It took me back to the warning and moralizing fear that Jack the Ripper's violence inspired in Victorian England, and to Peter Sutcliffe's terror, the terror he wreaked around Leeds in the 1970s, and of course to Sarah Everard more recently. But fear and darkness isn't quite as simple as that either, because alongside these very rational reasons to beware the night are those that are far harder to pin down, those irrational existential factors grounded in around sleep, maybe, insomnia, night terrors, sleep paralysis, even the scientific mysteries on the effects of the moon on us, seeing things in the darkness that might not be there, that might be imagined. I wanted to explore all of this. And in the course of that journey, I was reminded of the night's opposite potential for immense joy too, and a rollicking hedonism, just how important hedonism is for the soul in darkness. Because of course the night and the darkness isn't just about fear and terror and the grimy underbelly of the day. There's a thrill of the dark too. The singer Chapel Roan sings, "Everything good happens after midnight." I half agree with that, and I wanted to look at the night's doubleness, how it can terrorize but also seduce, exhilarate, subvert, transform, maybe liberate. The darkness, I would argue, gives space to transgressive cultures and communities that the day doesn't allow for. It makes visible those that are otherwise invisible or outlawed in the day. So from the molly houses, the great gay community in the 18th century, to the Black American underground electronic music scenes in underground bars of Chicago that turned into the house music culture further down the line, to the trans nightclubs that I visited in London today. And talking to sex workers and going to a late night floor show with women performing in Lahore or Amsterdam's Red Light District, I wondered what freedom of choice might mean to them. I spoke to the woman who founded the UK's first Reclaim the Night March in 1977, which turned into a full-scale movement and which reclaimed the streets that Peter Sutcliffe had stalked. I went on a musical procession across those very streets last year, which was a kind of reclamation. So it was turning past terror into present-day resistance, ownership, celebration. I found great beauty in the night too, both in its nature and its recreational culture. So from listening to nightingales to listening to a closed order of Franciscan nuns singing from the other side of a convent wall at midnight for matins. And also there was the exhilaration of going solo clubbing at the age of 51 at the Berghain in Berlin, which is known as the high temple of techno music with 4-hour queues at the weekend, and where I turned up looking like a burlesque version of myself, experiencing also the weird delirium of the midnight sun and realizing that we need the darkness to give the day its meaning and the night its value too. So my conclusion, or one of the conclusions I reached, is that darkness is a canvas and it harnesses our imagination. And what kept coming up oddly in the course of the book was my father, who's 94, has dementia, but whose original fear of the darkness I've inherited. And I was reminded again and again of how great a storyteller he was, how I spent my childhood listening to his scary stories of, all the monsters that lurked in the dark, and how exciting those stories were to hear. The reason I think they were so exciting is that the flip side of fear is excitement, and darkness has a way of sparking the human imagination, of sparking our desire and our love of storytelling. We project our stories onto it, just as my father did, just as I do now when I go into a dark room and I'm spooked by what might be lying there, coiled within the darkness. So I think the darkness is as big or as small or as scary or as beautiful as the human imagination. And I realized that walking towards the thing you fear most, staring intently at it, isn't necessarily an endeavor to overcome the fear, but to understand it, and perhaps even to live alongside it. And exploring the night, walking into it, brought prickly and scary moments for me, but also great swooping highs. And I think that you can feel both these things inside the darkness. It's, Nietzsche said, stare into the abyss and it stares back. What I found staring back was not just blanket blackness, but, various colors and shades and multitudes. Thank you.